We're joined now by senior political editor Steve Chaggaris and CBSN political contributor Leslie Sanchez. Steve, let me start with you. Thank you both for being here. In the history of debate, Steve, did they hit an all-time low in terms of attacks last night?
I mean, it was pretty interesting. Let's just put it that way. I don't know how to rank it in terms of low, but it was low. Let's just put it that way. But, you know, I thought what was really interesting in the debate last night was the just incessant attacks from the candidates against Donald Trump, and really the pressing of the moderators on these issues. And I think it really backed Trump into a corner, especially on an issue like immigration, where, you know, he had to admit flexibility. This is a guy who normally talks in very stark black and white terms, and I think the people who support Trump like him for his telling it like it is in stark terms. And, you know, now he's showing some shades of gray. I don't know if this is a pivot toward maybe being the nominee in a general election, or he just felt like he was backed into a corner. But it'll be interesting to see how these shades of gray affect the overall Trump persona, which again is very usually stark black and white terms.
Leslie, so as Steve points out, I think for the first time I can recall, I saw a candidate in real time change his position on a topic that has been the tentpole of his candidacy. Have you ever seen anything like that?
Not on a debate stage like that, and not kind of rewriting your policy as you go. It very much is off the cuff in terms of Donald Trump style, but the kind of the running joke was there was so much flexibility and calm down and breathing. It was like the angriest yoga class you could have ever been at. And that's what it felt like, and you didn't quite sure what contortion they were going to take their positions. I think that was very alarming, and Steve very much talks about it. On immigration, the flexibility, why wouldn't he release what he was saying privately, and the transparency of what he's telling an editorial board that maybe he's going to walk away from some of these very stark positions. He also talked about that on the gun ban. He's like, I'm no longer for that. H-1B visas, okay, I'm going to change that right now. There was a lot of that moving through the debate, and it was disconcerting to people that were on the fence. But then again, to kind of your point earlier with Major Garrett, it was all undercut by the agreement of the three to all say, well, it's okay, we'll let that pass, and we'll all support an eventual nominee who may be Donald Trump.
Well, and that was really surprising at the end. Steve, what did you make of that after all these attacks, all the nastiness? Then at the end they said, but if Donald Trump is the nominee or whoever is on this stage, we will support him. How can that happen? How can that work?
Well, I mean, it can work. It happens every 4 years. You have people attacking each other, and then ultimately they come behind the nominee. But I think what it does is it sort of undercuts the argument that Mitt Romney and all these others are making outside of the debate, where there's this effort to stop Trump. And now you have the three candidates who are actually on stage with this guy saying, yeah, you know what, we'll support him if he's the nominee. It really undercuts the effort to stop Trump, I think.
Leslie, one point that Donald Trump made was not a changing position. In fact, he doubled down. I want to play for you a little bit of the sound where he talks about illegal acts by soldiers. Listen.
Can you imagine these people, these animals over in the Middle East that chop off heads, sitting around talking and seeing that we're having a hard problem with waterboarding? We should go for waterboarding, and we should go tougher than waterboarding.
But targeting terrorist families?
And I'm a leader. I've always been a leader. I've never had any problem leading people. If I say do it, they're going to do it. That's what leadership is all about.
So I spent some time in the military. Maybe people don't know that you are not allowed to follow an illegal order from any commander, including the commander-in-chief. If it's illegal, you can go to jail for that, including the person who gives that order. Right. Was that surprising to you that he was advocating that?
I think, and also if you saw the military and the veteran pushback on social, and just some of the other commanders-in-chief that came out early this morning and were talking about that, not only did they say it was nonsensical, but it was ludicrous. It was just, he did not have a very good command. In that area, I thought it was one of the weakest spots when you're talking about committing war crimes. And you're exactly right, doubling down on that. And you put that together with the 60 national security officials that came out yesterday, intelligence officers that said he was not prepared to be commander-in-chief because of temperament, but also this, you can't just out of bravado say, oh no, I'm going to lead, they're going to be there. That is not in the spirit of how we expect the commander-in-chief to be.
And Trump University was another big topic last night, Steve. Any chance that that topic has some staying power?
I think it does for the general election if he's the nominee. I think this is something that should have been rolled out weeks or months ago if Republicans wanted to try to derail him. Clearly, he doesn't have any great answers for it other than trying to tamp down how important the court case is. He's dancing around that all night, and he was really getting piled on not only by his fellow candidates but by the moderators as well, and he didn't have a lot of great answers to it. And it doesn't make him look very good. It doesn't make him look like a very good businessman. It doesn't make him look like a very fair businessman in a sense. I mean, people are accusing. There was a quote that I think Megyn Kelly read from the court case that called him a con man. It wasn't that Marco Rubio was calling him a con man. It was the judge. And so I don't think it makes him look very good. I think it's something that his opponents waited way too long to bring up, and I think it could have had a big effect on the primary. I don't think it's going to immediately, but I do think this is something that if you see him as the nominee, that the Democrats will have a field day with.
Leslie, we heard Steve's take on it. What's your take on all this at the end of the day? Mitt Romney delivers that statement. These candidates attack Donald Trump, and at the end they just say, well, if he turns out to be the guy, we're all going to support him. Doesn't that sound disingenuous to people?
It's going to be a difficult position to take, and it's going to continue with the tension among these groups who feel that Donald Trump is a flawed candidate because he does have the New York Attorney General, even on the media today on CNN, saying that this is a fundamental case of fraud. I'm moving forward. The appellate court agreed with me. That is not what we want to hear in the same light that Hillary Clinton does not want to be under FBI investigation and new email scandals. That's not where either of these candidates is not our best position. And I think in the general it could pose significant challenges ahead.
All right, Leslie Sanchez, Steve Chaggaris, thank you both so much.
Thanks.